I'm Oshineye. I'm a senior developer advocate on the Google Plus project. Now, since you all have Google Plus, you all know what we're trying to do with Google Plus. What we're trying to do is to take the existing Google experience, things like Google Now, and we're saying, how could we make those better? How could we make these more useful, more powerful, and generally more valuable? One of the key insights behind this is the realization that people, users, don't need another product, another social network. What they want is a project to take the existing tools and products they use and make those better. So we're taking the whole of Google and we're making it better. So far, we've got 500 million users upgraded as of the last public numbers, and we're still growing. So that's 500 million people who've either created Google Plus accounts from scratch or taken their existing Google accounts and upgraded them to Google Plus. This is opt-in. This is not people who accidentally ended up as Google Plus account users. They all had to choose it. We have 235 million 30-day active users across the whole of Google. These are people clicking on the +1 button, using the Google bar, sharing things, actively using it across the whole of Google. That includes people who +1 things in search or in maps. Now, typically people then ask, what about the stream? What about the people who go to plus.google.com? How many are those? We have 135 million 30-day actives. Now, if you think about that in context, that's the same order of magnitude as Twitter or LinkedIn. When we talk about a stream, this is what we mean. What you see at plus.google.com, that stream of posts and photos and content. So one of the ideas Google tries to live by, and this was published, I think, in 2004, was this idea that if you focus on the user, everything else follows. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some of the things where we've identified an opportunity or a problem that a user has, and a way that Google Plus can help make those, well, better. So let's start with the simplest thing. Who here is looking to buy a camera? So now would be a great time for me to give you camera advice. Those of you who aren't looking to buy a camera, this would be a terrible time for me to give you camera advice. You won't remember it by the time you're looking to buy a camera. So what you'd like is some kind of mechanism where I could make recommendations, and then at the time when you're looking to purchase this thing, or when you're looking for this thing, the recommendations will be shown to you. So that's what we try to do with Google Plus. Most people trust recommendations from people they know because they know how much those people care about things. So for example, if you're looking to buy a camera, the question you're going to ask is, why should you trust my recommendation? Well, we'll start with something simple. This is my camera. So I spent a lot of time researching this. And, perfect. I spent a lot of time researching this, and I spent a lot of effort buying this. And I take a lot of photos, and some of them are quite good. And as a result, I built up a set of people who think I know stuff about cameras. So when those people look to buy cameras, they ask me for advice, which is great, except that I already bought a camera. So I don't remember any of the places I went to get my research. So what I do is I say, go to search. So if you think about Jack Menzel, who was speaking earlier, he works in product management. And a lot of people ask me, what is product management? What do those guys do? And I sort of go, well, I'm not really sure. And I go to Google and I ask Google. And when I search in Google, what is product management, I get the classic 10 blue links, but I also see something else. I see this. This is a personalized search result. So this is Search Plus Your World. And I see that my friend Jana Basto shared this article about what is product management. Now, I know Jana, and she's a product manager. So this is somebody who's a product manager who shared an article telling you what they do. So that's a great recommendation. At this point, when I'm looking for this information, here's a recommendation from somebody I know is knowledgeable. This is really powerful. But what about if I'm looking for somewhere to eat? So last week, I was here quite late at night. I wanted to eat. It was about 11 o'clock, so everything else was closed. You know, the canteen was closed, and I wanted food. Go to Google, burgers in Covent Garden. I see a bunch of Google local results. You know, Byron, this is the one in Charing Cross Road. This is the one just around the corner. But I also see who recommended it. So this is Alexandra Shepherd. She's a friend of mine. She's really into food. For a start, she can cook. And so when I see a recommendation from her, I say, okay, that's a good recommendation. That's somebody who knows, and I go there. Now, I didn't call that person and ask them, hey, it's 11 o'clock at night, I'm looking for a burger place. What's a good place? So we bring the point of recommendation and the point of need together. So the thing you should be seeing from this is that this is all stuff that is tied together by Google+. When you come to the Google Play Store, this is one way reviews could look. A Google user said something about this app. I don't know those people. I don't know if they know what they're doing. I don't know if they have good taste. I can't find out. This is how it could look, and this is how it tends to look nowadays. Somebody with a name and a face reviewed this app and said stuff about it. And if I want to know who they are, so Armin Margarian, who thinks this app is slow and limited, if I want to find out, I can click and go to their profile and see, is this person just really negative at everything? Does this person work on a competing app? I can get this information. So I can get a much better quality of recommendation as a result. When you go to the Chrome Web Store, the same thing applies. Suddenly I'm in a world where when I read a review, I don't just have to blindly trust the reviewer. I can click through, I can find out about them, I can see if they are trustworthy. I can see if they are insightful. I can see if they're biased. Smile? That's going to be used later. So who here is a member of the Google+ community? Okay, a few of you. So this is a feature we launched just before Christmas. So I think you all know about circles. The idea that you can basically say, this is my photography friends, these are my foodie friends, these are my football friends. And you can have these targeted, relevant conversations with these people. That's great. But what you really want is to be able to find all of the people who are into football, or all of the people who are into photography, because that's a much larger set. And it also means you don't have to be the one to manage that set. So what we want to give you is a mechanism where you can discover the same set of people who care about the things you care about. Who else is into old-fashioned, handmade German cameras? There aren't a lot of us. But it would be nice if we could find each other. Now, I can't go to Google and say, who's into handmade German cameras? And Google would give me a list. That would be nice, but it doesn't work that way. Well, with communities, it can. With communities, I can go to Google and search for handmade German cameras and find the handmade German cameras community. Or up until recently, one of my favorite cameras is a Lomo. So this is a Soviet-made camera from the 80s, which they don't make anymore. But there's a factory in China that makes them now. There aren't a lot of people who are into this. It's pretty obscure. But I can go and search in Google+, and look, there's a lomography community. And there's a few hundred other people into this can discover each other. So when you look at the communities available on Google+, there are thousands and thousands of them. Some of them have a lot of members. So if you're into Fuji cameras, as you can see, I'm into photography. Or if you're into Campus London, or if you're into movies so bad they're good. There's only 4 of us. But me and the 3 other people who are into movies that are really, really bad, we have a place so we can talk about stuff. And the other people in the world who only like good movies, they don't bother us. So this is the place I can go and talk about the new Die Hard movie. It's actually just bad. It's not, it's just, it's a terrible, terrible film. But I have a place I can go and talk to the people about that. Or the latest Jason Statham film. They're always, always terrible, but they're fun and terrible. So this gives me a way to find those other people who share my interests, my passions, and we can talk. So who here has participated in a Hangout? Excellent. So the thing we're trying to do with Hangouts is that we want to take the notion of social media and we want to convert it from the social media guy is the guy at the party in the corner, like this. We want to fix that. We want to take this idea that social is about interacting with people face to face. So how do we do that? Well, with Hangouts. So Hangouts, they're basically simple video chat. You've seen it a billion times. Except our video chat is not just one-to-one. You can have 10 people interacting with each other. You can have this work on phones, on tablets, on desktops. You can have this work on air, which means, anybody know who this guy is? So we can have celebrities actually do broadcast Hangouts on air. If you are looking at a Google Plus account right now, you'll see that Jack Manzel is actually doing a Hangout on air right now, where he's talking to members of the London startup community about product management. So suddenly we have this place where you can have really huge public conversations with people like him, or you can have small, private, one-to-one conversations on your phone with the people you care about. And the beauty of this is that it scales up and it scales down. You can embed Hangout applications. So if you're a business, you could embed a document in here, and then your whole team could work on that document together. This is really powerful. For a lot of journalists, one of the things they found they can do with Hangouts is they can start to do interviews with people who can't or won't fly to your country. Or where you need to interview 5 sources about a story, and they're in 4 different countries, you can do it with Hangouts. And it's simple, and it's quick, and it's cheap. So if you look at organizations like Reuters, like CNN, they're actually starting to investigate this because it's really powerful. And if you are a very small agency or a very small newspaper, this gives you the same scale as this guy. That's pretty powerful. The nice thing about this is that anybody can start it. And it's just Google Plus taking advantage of YouTube infrastructure and saying, how could we make this more powerful? How could we make this more useful? How can we make this more available to more people? Speaking of which, let's try a demo. This may not work. I'm just saying that in advance.